Nicolas Cage, good or bad? A challenge, certainly, but not unsolvable. Because all actors have distinct values, which I use to find answers.
How much Nicolas Cage did you...
Enough! I watched enough to find the answers. Because this is my reality. This is how I learned to be. And my being doesn't allow for Nicolas freaking Cage, okay? Oh, yeah! Oh, yeah! Oh!
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Every Marvel Movie Ever. I am your host, Gabe Thomas. With me, as always, is your co-host, Francisco Alcala. This is probably going to be our first episode that's under 10 minutes, because I don't have anything to say.
Neither do I.
Yeah.
It's, like, so very okay.
So, today we're talking about Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, which has a weird release date, because everywhere says 2011, but it was released in February of 2012. I'll still put 2011 in the title, but I'm lying to all of you.
Just put 2011/12.
Yeah, that's gonna look great. So, I don't even know what to do with this. Budget 75, box office 132.6, so it made about half its budget. I mean, made about twice its budget back, so it's not as big a hit as the first one was, but it also doesn't have as big a budget, so
It's also
really,
not as good.
It's also not as good. Well, at least not as fun, because we both really like that. Mostly because of nostalgia, we kept talking about that in that episode, but I still enjoy that movie.
It's still way more fun than this one is.
It's way more fun. I remember...
And it's more just entertaining in general. Where are the yees and the haws?
Yeah, there's no scene in this that's like that helicopter scene at any point, really.
Well, maybe the quarry scene, but, like, barely.
Sure, there's
he
some...
takes over a giant saw, and he just...
It's a good scene. There's some good action scenes. Well, I don't know. There's some crazy fun action scenes, at least. Like, 2 of them. But, you know, it's... Okay, so this was directed by Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor, who did the Crank movies, and they did a movie that I kind of enjoy with Nick Cage, even though it's not good, called Mom and Dad, where everybody's parents go crazy and try to kill their kids. It's from like 2 years ago. It's pretty fun.
That's like weirdly specific.
Yeah, it's some... I don't even remember. I don't think you actually find out why, but it's crazy. I think it's on Hulu. You might want to check that one out.
Okay,
it's fun. It's dumb fun.
I'll add it to the list.
I think they specialize in like crazy dumb fun, especially with Nicolas Cage in it.
Because that's just who Nicolas Cage is.
I love him so much. I recently just saw his newest movie, Color Out of Space, which is fucking crazy and really good, and I recommend that to anyone. I'll leave links to any of the movies that we recommend in the description. I always do. So this was written by 2 of the guys who write for The Walking Dead, a boring bad show. And did you see the other name?
I did not.
It's our boy David S. Goyer.
Oh, yay.
So yeah. Anyway, that's it.
Absolute joy.
Absolute incredible things. The plot of this movie: the devil wants Danny Ketch, who we've talked about before because he's like the second Ghost. He was Ghost Rider in the 90s, but now he's like a 10-year-old child for some reason who's the son of the devil and some lady.
10-year-old edgy child.
Yeah,
gotta make that very obvious.
This movie kind of let me down because I remember thinking it was so unhinged and crazy that it was kind of fun, and I was excited to see that again, but it's not that crazy.
It's like just Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage, but like not as fun for some reason. Like the rest of the movie is so like not on his level.
Sure, he's great. He's still great. I always love him. He's probably one of my favorite actors. We talked about him before. Actually, this movie is one of my favorite Nick Cage freakouts of all time.
You're a bad man. And this thing, the writer, he feeds on Batman and he's hungry. He's scraping at the door. Scraping at the door.
And the scene when he's riding the motorcycle and his face is changing and it looks awful.
That, I think it looks not terrible.
I think it looks like a After Effects filter. I like the design of the actual Ghost Rider. I don't like it as much. I think there's too much going on with it, but I like that the skull is kind of charred at this point because, you know, it's going to wither over time and stuff. I like that it isn't a flawless, plain white whatever. It's different.
It's very different.
It's different. It's kind of digital, which I don't like. I like that but I find it fascinating that the first title card in this whole movie just says Eastern Europe. Like, it doesn't matter where.
And also, they never explain why he's in Eastern Europe. He just is.
Yeah. I think you're supposed to assess that it's like he's running away from his. That's something I hate. This is a sequel. Do you remember how the last one ended? The last one ends with him telling the devil, "I'm gonna own this curse. I'm gonna be the rider. I'm gonna."
The entire movie tries to get rid of the curse.
He's running away from it. Idris Elba shows up, which is so weird.
as a French drunk priest or something.
He is the only person in this who's on Nick Cage's level. He's like absolutely hamming it up, and I think he's kind of great in it.
I think he's one of the better parts of the movie.
I think he's the standout of this movie. I think he's really kind of entertaining, and I love a character who doesn't give a fuck about anything. Like, he's like, I could get shot at any moment, but I'm just gonna take all these risks.
I'm just gonna drink 2,000-year-old wine and carry around the body of Christ in my back pocket.
It is kind of insane. It's kind of crazy. I really like that action sequence where he has the big chainsaw thing. I think that's fun and it's visually pleasing and whatever. And I like where he fights the devil and he takes him and he
Where
throws
Idris
him back
Elba
into hell.
headbutts somebody and
It's kind of sad. They recast the devil. Peter Fonda isn't in it anymore.
I feel like they kind of changed like the entire first movie.
Well,
like,
they
kinda
reshot the origin scene.
Yeah, they just kind of went back on the entire like first half an hour of the movie.
It's still the same basic thing. It's me, I deal with the devil. It's just the Ghost Rider story. And at some point, he's like, I did it to my dad or whatever.
I mean, you could have just used the footage. You already had the footage.
Sure. I think the way that he does it in this is more brutal and interesting, though. When he just breaks that
a
bottle in
and
his
then
hand.
just throws his hand at it.
It's kind of fun. That's
yeah.
a crazy thing to do, and this is a kind of insane character. But sometimes in a movie like this, things will be happening, and I'm like, I should be excited by this and think this is cool, but I don't. Like, I kind of felt disconnected from the whole thing.
Yeah, that's like how I felt the entire movie. Right away, it just crossed into the, like, there's too much happening territory, and then just never really stopped. There was just a whole lot happening, and you just kind of go numb to it, because, like,
It's true.
there's another explosion on screen.
Cool. There's a whole lot of filler, and this is probably the shortest film we've ever talked about. This is barely over an hour and a half. It's barely over 90 minutes, but it feels so... It's kind of a slog, which is weird.
Yeah, it's for being like the shortest movie we've watched. It feels really long.
Yeah.
Mostly because there's either too much happening or just absolutely nothing is happening.
How do you feel about the use of slow-mo and speed up stuff that there is
in
this?
every transition?
Yeah. Well, back in like the Blade days, like 13 years ago, before this movie came out, we were talking about how, like, oh no, they're doing that weird 90s, you know, there's a street and then everything speeds up and it slows down, it speeds up, slows down, the moon is coming in and out or whatever. Why are we doing that in 2011?
No, what they like to do is they play the footage in reverse and then speed it up to exactly where it was, which I don't understand what the point of that is.
Yeah,
it doesn't even look cool.
No,
it's just
it never looks cool. That effect didn't look cool in 1998. It doesn't look cool in 2011 or 2012. That's still annoying me. So we've kind of just come to the consensus here that it's fine.
Yeah,
it's
which
kind
is
of
like the worst kind of movie.
boring and nothing. But we have some listener comments, and I have to say Noah's first because he was upset that we didn't get to him last week.
Yeah, he wanted us to re-record the entire episode so that he could get his thing in, which didn't he like essentially say nothing?
This is what he said about Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. Okay. He said, never seen it, never will. And he said that's all he wants us to say for him.
Okay.
Fair enough, I guess. You don't need to ever see this.
Just watch the first one again.
It's not even a bad film, but you don't ever need to see it.
It's
just
Google
so look up the Nick Cage freak out and maybe the one action scene with the chainsaw, and that's it.
Yeah.
My favorite thing that this movie does, other than Idris Elba, I enjoy all of the kind of animatics that they'll do. Like, they do one for his origin story. It's just kind of like a little animated thing. That's fun. Yeah. I love the one where he's like, the devil takes many forms, and then it's Vlad the Impaler, Joseph Stalin, and Jerry Springer. Yeah. That's kind of a dated joke, but that is a pretty good joke.
I think that's pretty good no matter, no matter what year it is.
Yeah, those are good. I like the one they actually talk about, because the spirit of vengeance, he was like an angel, and then he got taken to hell and driven crazy, and then he became the spirit of vengeance. We actually see that in this movie. They actually show like a little thing that's like, yeah, they drove him crazy, and it's just like footage of war and archival terrible things. I enjoy that little detail too, because You know, I wasn't even sure if they would bring that kind of thing up, but they actually got into it, which was cool.
And then he got rid of and then he got rid of it
Then he
like
got rid of
immediately
it.
after.
Well, then that fucking Danny Ketch spat all that fire onto his
Yeah,
head.
he like threw up on his face.
What about the guy who looks like Bill Moseley from House of a Thousand Corpses, like the pale blonde guy, and everything he
Oh,
touches disintegrates?
I wasn't a fan.
No, other listener stuff. Joey Ciasco. I thought it was more fun than the first one, but I've only seen it once. Tomahawk Eastridge. That has to be an internet
Yeah,
name. I
that-
can't see that being
no.
an internet name. Says, this is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Fair enough, I guess.
Yeah, I could see it.
Luke Croson says, I thought it was a fun movie, but definitely not the best. Alex Funder says, this movie was wild, just a fun trip. It doesn't take itself seriously, and viewers shouldn't either. And Derek McDuff says, I love this movie. It's over-the-top madness. So there's some polarizing things in here. We have someone saying, this is a fucking terrible movie and one of the worst movies ever. We have people saying, I love it. But a lot of those are, it's fine. I don't remember it, which is...
There are good things about it, but it's fine.
It's fine. It's not interesting. That's why this episode will be 15 minutes.
Yeah, there's really nothing to say about this movie.
Goodbye, everyone.
We've had boring movies, but I feel like this one is just... It's like the most boring it can get.
I would rather watch one of the really bad ones again than watch this again. We've watched things that I've disliked more, but this is one of the most uninteresting, which sucks because it's about a skeleton in a leather jacket played by Nicolas Cage with a flaming motorcycle.
It's literally about
And they made it-
spawn.
And they made it boring.
Yeah. How do you do
That's
that?
the worst crime of all, I think. Taking
In this
something
movie-
so interesting.
In this movie with a main character that can disintegrate people with chains and can take control of giant saws and crush people. How the fuck do you make this movie boring?
I don't know, but you're going to have to ask the directors because they did it.
Get him on the show.
Yeah, we'll get them on the show. We didn't like your movie. It was bad. Thank you for listening to our very short thoughts on Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. Do you have anything else to say about this?
I really don't.
I don't like the guy who plays the devil as much. I think
No,
he's
not
much
at all.
less interesting. Also, Peter Fonda's just a good actor, and whoever they got in this is fine, but whatever. I don't like the mom and kid subplot and how they're both fucking useless.
I mean, they were like the main like conflict of the movie, but I feel like they really didn't do much.
No, not at all. Oh, you know what?
What?
I don't know if anyone noticed. I haven't heard anything back, but there was no 9 to 5 last week.
Working 9 to 5.
I didn't do any. Maybe
Working
it's starting to
5.
die. In this, there's one woman in this entire movie.
Yeah, so she gets it by default.
She gets it by default. There's one woman in this entire movie, Fanny. That's pretty bad. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter.
You're not sad that 9 to 5 is ending?
No, it's fine. It's okay. You know what?
We gotta. It's
forever
a
be a
worthy
part-
sacrifice.
It'll forever be a part of the show, but it'll come up. I'm sure it'll come up again when the time is
Yeah.
appropriate. But yeah,
It'll have its place.
I'm sure next episode it'll be something.
What is next episode? Gabe?
Avengers. We're talking about the first kind of big team up movie of all time that kicked off a lot of shit, and
one
it's
of the
great.
best Marvel movies.
Absolutely. It's going to be a much more interesting episode than this week. Do you like Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance? Tell us about it. We would love to hear if you actually find this movie interesting at all. You know, that's totally fine if you do. There were times where I was like, I should like this more, but I didn't. So
I
if
never
you
felt
do
like
like
that.
it, oh, okay, well, then never mind.
I was
Fuck
like,
you
this is fine.
and your opinion.
This is fine, and like everyone should think this is fine.
Yeah, everyone should think what Franny thinks. That's how he
Yes.
feels about all topics.
Absolutely,
You just
everyone
want
should agree with my opinions.
Uniformity, Franny. That's what we're
I
trying
just
to
want
push
people
for.
to like Iron Man 2.
Oh my god, he's still on about that? Really?
No.
Oh my god, nobody likes it, Franny. Or people like it. I like it, but it's not better than Iron Man 1. That's insane.
More fun than Iron Man
That's
1.
ridiculous. All right. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at MarvelMoviePod. You can email us at marvelmoviepod@gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram at FlippedEgg. You can find me on Twitter at FlippedEgg, but the egg is a 3. Franny has been cursed by the demons of hell or whatever.
I'm trying to get rid of it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
About it. I'm going to rehab.
Try to make me go to rehab, but I said
Yes. Yes. Yes.
good night, everybody. Stay safe. Wash your hands.
Yeah. Wash your hands. Stay inside. Play a good video game or two. Watch
Talk
a
to
good
people.
movie.
Yeah. All right.
Talk to somebody that needs it. Call
Listen-
your parents.
Yeah. Call anybody that you can. Listen to our backlog. Do your homework. All right. Bye.
Yeah. Stay safe.
Iron Man 2 sucks.
You want a
I
bird?
want my bird.
I can get you a bird. I can get you 10 birds.
I want my bird.